Hello guys, welcome back. I hope everyone is doing great. In today's video, I want to talk about a decant here of a fragrance from a house that I don't really talk much about on this channel, the house of Roja. This is A Midsummer Dream. And I actually didn't seek out a decant of A Midsummer Dream. I never even heard of this, and I don't really purchase Roja fragrances. I do have Diaghilev, and I have been looking to delve into other houses like Clive Christian and Louis Vuitton, and there's a site that I love to purchase from. So I'll often go on the site and just sort of browse the samples, and that's how I ended up getting a bunch of samples from Frederic Malle. And I saw that they had a few from Roja, including this one. I think they only had two, this one and another one. And I basically searched up this fragrance to see whether I would even be interested. And I saw on Profumo that it got really high grades, really high marks, and that it was ranked somewhere the top like 100 unisex fragrances. So it seemed like a hyped fragrance, or at least one that a lot of people liked, and I went for it and I ordered the decant. And I've worn it a whole bunch on skin. I've been testing it out for the last few weeks, and we'll talk about what it smells like, and I'll give you my thoughts on the fragrance. So A Midsummer Dream was released in 2016. It's an eau de parfum concentration, and it basically sits in the world of clean, fresh fragrances. It's a very simple smelling fragrance, but if you look at the notes, you would know that. There are so many notes in this fragrance, and I think that's pretty typical of Roja fragrances. At the top are a whole bunch of citrus notes, and then in the mid there are some florals. We'll talk about what I get. And then at the base are a whole bunch of notes, too many to read off right now. So it seems that this fragrance has a lot of fans. It seems that it's a popular Roja fragrance. And like I said, I'm not really too familiar with the fragrances in this house, aside from Diaghilev. I would love to get my nose on Great Britain. It's a discontinued fragrance. I know that one was super expensive. I may just get a decant of that one. But A Midsummer Dream fits into the category of fragrances, of Roja fragrances, that on discounters, from what I've seen, can be had from around $200 to $250. So let's spray it. I have this as my scent of the day, but we'll spray it as I usually do, and we'll talk about what it smells like. So it opens up with a blast of citrus notes. It's very aldehydic, it's very fresh and musky in the opening, and super citrusy. I think the fragrance has two movements. I don't think it's a super complex fragrance, despite the note breakdown. I think it changes twice, once right after it opens, and then once more. So minutes after this fragrance opens, I start to get florals that come through, and even though there are a host of florals in here, I'm not really picking out a specific flower. There's geranium, there's orange blossom, there's cyclamen, there's magnolia, and May rose. I'm not getting orange blossom, I'm not getting rose, I'm just getting a floral that starts to come through immediately after the opening. And the thing that I think stands out to me about this fragrance, first I'll say that in the opening, it's clear that it's a clean scent profile. And it's aldehydic in the opening. That changes a little bit as it becomes powdery. But there is something that happens from the opening that stays with the fragrance all the way until it dries down. There's something a little bit aromatic that sort of pairs up with that citrus, so that the citrus is not overtaking the fragrance. So the citrus is met with something aromatic, which I'm attributing to the cardamom in here, and all of the other notes in the fragrance and the movement is sort of happening around this citrus slash cardamom pairing. That's how it's coming off to my nose. And despite what I'm saying and how I'm describing this, it is a clean scent profile, but it definitely has aromatic touches. You have elemi that comes through. It's a little peppery. You have the green from the oak moss that starts to come through as well. You have a powderiness that develops. There's carrot seeds in here, so it gets a little powdery. Carrot seeds can be a substitute for iris, which goes powdery in fragrances. So all of these things are sort of going on, but the fragrance itself comes off fairly simple to my nose. So after this citrus sort of aromatic cardamom opening, the florals start to come through, and then the fragrance goes from being musky aldehydic to a little bit powdery, and there's a little bit of substance to it. So even though it's a clean scent profile, it's not super translucent and super aldehydic. It has some substance to it. And then the green starts to come through. There's oak moss, there's fir balsam. So I'm not picking out the notes individually. For example, there's rhubarb, there's vetiver in here, there's patchouli, there's cacao. I'm not getting any of that. I think the cardamom is really prominent, but to my nose, the cardamom is prominent the minute I spray the fragrance. Within seconds, I get that cardamom pairing up with the citruses. And so I feel like this fragrance, before it fully dries down, is sort of a contrast between this aromatic citrus, the citrus cardamom, and this powdery sort of floral that has green aspects to it. I feel like it's the contrast between those two elements in the fragrance, maintaining a clean, easy to wear sort of scent profile. And the fragrance has a little bit of powderiness to it. The florals really never fully come through. The florals are just sort of hints within the fragrance. So there's nothing super floral about the fragrance in the opening or in the mid portion. It's super unisex. And you have hints of sweetness. There's benzoin, but it's not too sweet. And then in the full dry down, I feel like the citruses are obviously not as bright, not as zingy. They kind of quiet down, but they're still part of the fragrance. It's still a clean, citrusy scent profile, but it's not just citruses. It's citruses that have a contrast with this aromatic cardamom. And of course, you have the hints of those florals and the green components. And in the dry down, it's sort of the green components of the fragrance that come through the most. But it's not a dark green. I don't fully get the patchouli. I don't fully get the fir balsam. They're not super apparent to my nose. So any green that comes through is sort of in this fresh scent profile. So the fragrance all in all is sort of an easy to wear fragrance. I can see how it's a likable fragrance. It's never too floral. It's never too aldehydic and musky. It's never too aromatic. It's never too sweet. It's never too green. So in terms of balancing all of those aspects of the fragrance, I think they did a good job. I don't think that it's groundbreaking or super unique. I'm not sure that I understand the hype. If this is a hyped fragrance, I'm just going by what I read on Profumo. So I'm not sure that I would understand this being a hyped fragrance. It's nice, but I'm not sure that I personally would want a full bottle of this. And actually, when I purchased this, I got a few samples from Clive Christian, including 1872 for women, the 1872 for men, and then the woman and the man's version of number one. So all of those, all four of those, are clean scent profiles, and I think they sort of live in the world of A Midsummer Dream. And I would say that I would prefer any of those four over this one. So I'm looking forward to talking about those fragrances in a video. I was really impressed with the men's version of 1872 and number one. I think I like them better than the woman's version of one in 1872. So 1872 is actually the one that's citrusy, and I would compare to this one. But I didn't order those samples and this one for the purpose of comparing. I actually did not know what to expect from this or from those samples, actually. So those are my thoughts on this fragrance. It's an easy fragrance. It's a fresh fragrance. It's simple. It has a huge note listing, but it's a simple fragrance in the end. But for me personally, I'm not sure that this is something super unique that would turn into a full bottle. So those are my thoughts on Roja's A Midsummer Dream. Let me know in the comments if you guys have gotten your nose on this fragrance and what you guys think. As always, thank you so much for watching, your support, and your comments. Until next time. Bye, guys.